In this video, we're going to be talking about the new Season 4 support meta, all the best and worst heroes in the support category this season, and we're going to talk about how they slot in to any existing composition. But do us all, if you enjoyed this content, smash that like and subscribe, and let's get right into it. Now, the first character that we got to talk about is Ana, and Ana has been consistently one of the most powerful supports in the game. Unfortunately for Ana, though, something happened very recently where Ana now cannot sleep tanks for nearly as long. A lot of the times, if you sleep something like a Hammond or a Doomfist, you're not going to be able to have any set like coordination with your team. Now, this didn't really happen that much anyways, but sometimes you would get it to where your Ryan could pin the target or whatever. And now you're just not going to be able to reliably do that. A lot of times you're going to have to sleep a target and then decide whether you're just trying to run away to live or if you're going to try to shoot them and nade them and kill them. It's going to be your call depending on the situation. Now, outside of that though, Ana's really good. In pro play, she's seeing a healthy amount. In ranked play, she is probably one of the strongest supports, period. And I do think that you can justify putting Ana at either high A or the bottom of S tier. I know that she's going to have some worse tank matchups, but still, nade is one of the most powerful things you can have against tanks when they're out of position, unless there's a Kiriko that can Suzu them. You're going to be able to kill them very easily. They're not going to be able to sustain through burst. You have a very, very high damage rifle. Ana's very strong, and I think that I'm going to put her in the S tier. I think she deserves it, although she's probably going to be the lowest in the S tier category, primarily because of that sleep nerf. It does suck. It's felt. It's felt. You do feel it, and it can be pretty annoying. Another thing that I wanted to talk about with Ana is, especially when there's tanks being played like Ramatra, Ana and nanoing Ramatra is amazing, especially in ranked. It's like a free team fight win. And Ana's also one of the only characters that can really stop a Ramatra with your sleep dart. So twofold, Ana's really strong right now, and I would suggest playing her. Now, the next character on the list is Lucio. And Lucio has kind of lost a little bit of his identity. Unfortunately, Brawl is not as strong as it was last season. Still can be played on the maps it's good in, but it's not going to be played all the time. And a lot of the times in a lot of these dive compositions, you're seeing stuff like Brig Zen, Kiriko Zen, we're seeing even Kiriko Ana and different things like that. Lucio, the speed isn't being utilized in the same way that it has been in the past. Now, Lucio can still be played and he's still good. In the pro meta, a lot of the compositions revolve around like a Winston and a Lucio. We're seeing compositions around a Lucio, and I think that from a high level point of view, Lucio's fine. He can be played in a brawl and then with some of these Winston dive compositions. But for ranked, he feels kind of strange. And a lot of your playstyle is kind of neutered. You can't really go too aggressive. A lot of times you just have to play to control the enemy tank. The Ramatra pushes forward, you boop them back. The enemy Sigma, you know, you try to push him in front of your shield. You try to basically mess up the timings on all these tanks. That's kind of your role. But Lucio's going to be fairly bad in a lot of the sniper maps. And I think overall, he's decent, but he's not like the top of the meta as he has been in the past. I'm going to put him at the bottom of A tier for now. Now, let's talk about Moira. Because Moira did get a change that I don't really like, if I'm being honest, but it is a change where she can now fade during her coalescence. It just makes it so it's pretty hard to kill a Moira. Like, Moira doesn't have that many key weaknesses, and I do think that the lower in rank you go, in the metal ranks and especially, but the lower down you go, Moira gets better and better. And of course, I'm going to be doing a metal rank tier list, and we're going to be talking about what characters are the best right now in season 4 for the metal ranks. But if we were talking just about that, obviously Moira would be much higher up. But when we think about all the utility that these characters have, I just want to kind of just run through some of them. Nade and sleep, speed and beat, nano, Brig packs her flail, resurrect, damage boost, rush, freaking Suzu, Discord, Immort, and then we have Moira, which she has damage and she has heals. That's it. She doesn't have any crazy utility. From a strategic point of view, Moira just is lacking, like severely lacking. And I think that her only saving grace is that you can a lot of the times live, and especially if you're getting no peel in ranked, you can live and survive in situations that other characters have a hard time. But for the most part, that's just like a product of ranked. It's not a product of the meta. So if we were just doing like pure high ranked or pro meta, she would be definitely D or F. for the combination of ranked play plus that, I'm going to give her C, but she's definitely going to be the lowest ranking support, and it's not close. Doesn't mean that she can't be played, doesn't mean you can't carry with her, doesn't mean you can't climb to Grandmaster with her. It just means that on a utility level, when we think about this game strategically, Moira just doesn't bring anything to the table anywhere near what any of these other characters bring. Now, let's talk about Brig. And Brig, I rated as a character that I think players should be maining. In one of my videos previously, I said that this season I think Brig is a good main, and a lot of people disagreed, and I understand why. I understand why people think that Brig is pretty weak, and I honestly think that her ultimate is kind of a net negative compared to the last ultimate. Not to mention, right now Brig is bugged where she can't even survive a pulse bomb in her ult when she should be able to. Thank you, special shout out to Holy Shift Kid for figuring that out. But Brig is still strong. Like, even without an ult, it doesn't even matter what her ult is. She's strong. She has been for a while. Ever since they gave her the repair packs, she has been. And the reason that she's strong is that, one, she's really good at playing around a lot of these dive compositions, like Hammond-based compositions, Winston-based compositions, even Diva-based compositions, Flail, and triggering Inspire constantly. Very good. And two, it lets you play certain ranked comps, ranked support duos that are really strong, but they have a hard time surviving. So like, let's say you're playing Hammond, you can kind of greed on heals, so you play Brig Zen, and because you can protect your Zen just gets to do so much. Let's say you play Brig Ana, all of a sudden your Ana will never die, neither will you. Y'all play together, you just keep them alive, and your Ana will carry the game because she'll have like no deaths and she's undivable. That's just what Brig can do. And on top of that, you just get to control a lot of how fights go. Sometimes a little bit of burst healing here and there around the battlefield can be the difference. And Brig is just generally fairly strong. I don't necessarily think she's the best character in the world. After her bug fixes, she will be a bit stronger. But yeah, for ranked play, I think as long as you make sure that you don't greed and you prioritize your own life, you can hard carry games. You can really hard carry games. Just because you're popping an ult doesn't mean you should be running it down like a Rhine, by the way. But yeah, I'm gonna put Brig in the B tier. I think that she provides a lot. She brings a lot to the table, and yeah, I think a lot of people are underrating her. Just thinking about ultimate, I know that there was a huge exaggerated like, oh, this ultimate's busted and all that stuff, but ultimate or no ultimate, it doesn't even matter what her ultimate is. She's still fairly strong, especially in ranked, and she's seeing some pro play as well. Now, let's talk about Mercy, because Mercy did get a net nerf. She did kind of get reverted back before with her movement, but ultimately it makes it worse because a lot of the movement tech cooldowns are being activated earlier, so Mercy just is net worse than she was before. She's different than she was when she had that burst heal. She doesn't have that burst heal anymore, but she's worse than her old version with the movement. And I think all in all, it makes Mercy weaker. I think Mercy is just weaker than she has been for a while. Now, it doesn't mean that Mercy is weak, especially when we think about ranked. There's a lot of characters that just become nightmares to deal with from a DPS point of view when they have a damage boost. Ashe, even Cassidy, freaking Sojourn. It's just crazy what these characters can do, not even to mention the Pharah and Echo combos in ranked are just kind of like unparalleled. We're still seeing Mercy see play, of course, in pro play on a lot of the maps where Flowers are seeing play, not really much outside of that. But for ranked, having a good DPS with a pocket is just like, it's like GG, it's like a wrap, because the DPS gets so much more value if they're being pocketed by a Mercy. So if you're already the best DPS in the lobby and you're getting pocketed, now all of a sudden you're doing like 2 or 3 times more. Like it's crazy what you can do. So yeah, I'm putting her here. I think that she's good. I don't think she's quite as strong as Brig, but she's kind of in the same tier as Brig, same ballpark as Brig, and I think that's pretty fair. Yeah, she's definitely a lot weaker than she was before, but still playable for sure. Now let's talk about Kiriko. And yeah, I mean, everyone knows where we're going to put Kiriko. The big thing about Kiriko, I think, is her flexibility. Kiriko can be played in literally any composition, and she's always going to be good. Ana's fairly flexible, but the thing about Ana is if you're playing like a designated dive composition, Ana is sometimes like the lone one out that becomes targeted. Kiriko will never be the one caught out. She can always provide value. She can help your DPS on flanks. She can go in with the dive. She can peel her supports. She can do pretty much everything. And really, you can also be very aggressive with her. You can also play more passive. Kiriko's amazing. Now, something that you should understand, though, is that outside of the highest ranks of play, Kiriko doesn't have a good win rate. Kiriko is a character that a lot of players don't access the value that you can on her. Realistically, a Kiriko that only heal bots and only uses Suzu defensively is never going to be able to carry as hard as a Kiriko that is going to be aggressive, going to look for alternate angles, going to set up a crossfire, provide value from that crossfire. You got to understand, Kiriko, her biggest value is the fact that you can't punish her. Unless she gets one shot, she could play on an off ankle from the enemy team, from her team, start doing damage. If she hits a couple of criticals, she'll bait out abilities. If she kills somebody, that's just amazing, a free fight win. And if they come and clear her, she gets to go away for free. If they don't clear her, she gets to selectively choose when and how she's going to intervene in the fight to give her team an advantage. It's just so strong. And Kiriko really has a crazy high skill ceiling. Now, I will give you a little tip on aiming with Kiriko. This is what a lot of Kirikos do. It's not, it's something that I think makes Kiriko a little bit easier to learn. Is most of the time, aiming with Kiriko from long distance is just about crosshair placement. You put your crosshair about head level. You don't really move along the y-axis. You just move along the x-axis, or you just go left and right with your movement, and that's it. You just spam shurikens head level. You're not really aiming unless they're up close, and it's very consistent and reliable. This is what a lot of Kirikos do, even up to the highest ranks of play. So yeah, that's just one tip to help you aim on Kiriko if it's a little bit daunting. Outside of that, we're putting Kiriko in the S tier. Surprise, surprise. Now, let's talk about Zenyatta. And I'm someone that constantly speaks about how Zenyatta is just so strong. Zenyatta is one of the strongest characters in the game right now, although he does have clear weaknesses, especially in ranked play. Oftentimes, you need a tank that's willing to play around how you play. You could be targeted selectively. Zenyatta is really, really good. Of course, Zenyatta is really, really good. But he does have weaknesses, so I'm not gonna sugarcoat those. By the way, I'm gonna put Kiriko above Ana. That being said, Zenyatta's Discord is kind of just busted. It warps the tank matchup. That's I say that a lot, but it's true. Warping the tank matchup is so powerful. And when you get a character like when you get Zen combined with like a dive character, let's say it's like Tracer, all of a sudden shooting a tank becomes viable. You discord a tank, and then your Tracer just shoots that tank. And just with one or two clips, that tank is so weak, they have to pull completely out of the fight. Or they have to use all their abilities. And the traditional idea of never shoot the tank, always go for DPS, always go for supports, just that gets to be completely ignored because of Discord. It's so strong. It's so powerful. I love Zenyatta, but he completely breaks the game, and he's strong. I mean, he's my support mate. He's the one I play the most, and he's something that I think you should play. Yes, you have to learn good positioning, similar to Ana, a bit less forgiving, but yeah, I'm gonna put Zenyatta in the S tier as well. I'm putting him at the bottom of the S tier though, so I think he's in the same tier as the characters up here. Now, I will say that he's not as flexible as Kiriko and Ana in their composition. You can play Kiriko and Ana both as main support, off support. You can play them in any category, it doesn't matter. But Zenyatta specifically has to play as that flex, meaning that he needs some other support to provide the bulk heals, especially if you're not playing a ball composition. Ball compositions are the only ones that you can really kind of cheat on, because he doesn't need as much heals. But if you have like a Zarya or a Ramatra or a Rein, you can't be rocking like Zen Lucio, Zen Mercy, Zen Brig. You can't do any of that. But as long as you make sure to play him in the compositions that actually like don't lock Zen with the Lucio one trick or whatever, right? But as long as you play him in the right compositions, you're perfectly fine. Speaking of which, let's talk about Bap. Bap's good. Bap's good. He plays well into a brawl. He plays well with Ramatra. He plays well with Rein. He's honestly not that bad with characters like Zarya either. And even on the high ground maps on defense, he can take height pretty easily. I think that he also plays decent in a poke. Like, there's a lot of compositions he plays well in. You just got to make sure that you're doing enough damage output on this character. It can be really easy to kind of slot into that heal bot mentality with Bap, which is like the easiest way to just do very little on this character. A lot of your utility is centered around primarily your immortality field, which you're not going to have all that much, and your damage. So just make sure that you're looking to add damage to the team fight. You're not making sure that you're just pocketing non-stop to characters that really just don't need to be pocketed nearly that much. And yeah, Bap is great. I think he was better last season, but he's still great. I'm gonna put him in the A tier as well. So this is where I would put the tiers. I think that you could justify putting Zenyatta down if you wanted to, and maybe Lucio down as well. I don't know if that's quite fair. I do think that Zenyatta on a power level point of view deserves S tier. Maybe from a flexibility standpoint, you could put him lower, but yeah. This is my support tier list for Season 4. Let me know if there's any characters that you really disagree with on this list, or if there's any characters that you want to main on this list. By the way, I completely forgot. We got to talk about Lifeweaver. Right now, Lifeweaver would probably be in the B tier, by the way. Just kind of a last minute throw in. I didn't even mention Lifeweaver. Yeah, so yeah, Lifeweaver would be in the B tier. Most likely the bottom of the B tier. Honestly, what it probably would look like is that Moira's D, Lifeweaver's C is what I would probably put it for right now. Lifeweaver is gonna get some changes before she goes into comp, or he goes into comp though. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. And I can go into more detail about that when Lifeweaver was actually in comp. We'll do a follow-up. Anyways, thank you for coming by. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.